Good morning. It is the last day of the month in the second quarter, so let's get to it quickly so you can get on to your barbecue. One of the reasons that the market's up today relates to the PCI number coming in low. It's only up 0.1% in May. It's easing to the slowest pace in about 2 years. Plus, consumer spending stayed the same after adjusting for prices after a downgrade to a 0.2% gain back in April. We know goods are down, services up, which is not surprising, but ex food and energy, the core PC price index was up 4.6% year over year, which is much more in line with readings that we've seen over the past year. Not really a drop in inflation that people want to see, but it's those first statistics that are really moving the market this morning. We'd be cautious, though. We don't think that this changes the course for the Fed, who's going to be raising rates or still talking about 2 rate hikes in addition to what we've already had this year. So if you're buying into this morning's rally, we'd be warned. That really affects tech. I don't have to show you all the names, but basically you'll see in our arrows all the names and what's generated the returns year to date in the NASDAQ, which has been driving the S&P as well. It's very narrow leadership. But interestingly, UBS analysts have neutral ratings for more than half of these stocks, only buy ratings on 43%. So you're probably saying, what should I be doing? You may own these stocks and want to know what to do, or you don't own them and you're wondering, gosh, do I have a fear of missing out? Do I need to get into them? Let's look at 2 things. 1, the macro, which I'll talk to you about, but then 2, Longbow, which is more of the technical trading systems. From a macro perspective, you're probably going to still see a solid second quarter earnings because growth has not fallen off a cliff. It's been okay. And inflation, though, has stayed high. And so you can still thread the needle this, if you want to have noodles, but thread the needle this quarter. And we're going to be heading into earnings seasons here in the next few weeks. So you might be able to hold on to that, but we do see pressure. So people moving from more of the growth story to saying, okay, well, where are we going now? And thinking about, gosh, it's still an inflation story, which could hurt tech. Obviously, AI has been another massive driver of returns year to date, especially through May. We talk about that in Longbow arrows, but let's get to the trade site here on Longbow trading range to talk about where we are today, because we're seeing some overbought signals and we just want you to be careful. Here on the Longbow dashboard, I'm showing you that we've got an overbought on the SPY, we've got overbought on the Qs, we've got overbought on Apple. A lot of people putting up their price targets today, but you're looking at 3-to-1 negative odds here on both SPY and Qs. Also, almost 5-to-1 negative odds on Apple. So this isn't the day to be catching FOMO and getting in. But if you're looking at who's contributed the most year-to-date returns, we're looking at NVIDIA. It's neutral, but getting towards the top end of the range. It's got, call it minus 1.8-to-1 odds to the downside. Microsoft's heading up there. That's obviously a negative asymmetry, minus 7.4-to-1. And then we're heading down to Meta, Amazon, Tesla, Google, Broadcom. And so when you're looking at those, we're not quite at the overbought area, but this should show you that there's a big pattern. So this, again, isn't the time to be, fully going on tech, but also it's not the time to be shorting. You see here a sea of green means that the trend is moving up. So you're better off waiting if something is oversold, if it's staying bullish, to get into it, or if you're just being careful, using the trading ranges to be buying in, trimming, and the like along the way. But this, again, isn't the time to go massive short tech, but be really careful because you're getting to be nearly overbought on so many different names. And we obviously know that tech leadership's been quite narrow year to date. That's it for today. Have a wonderful July 4th weekend, and we'll catch you back next week.